Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn about how to checkmate with a bishop and a knight. This is the most complicated checkmate, and the patterns are different from those which we have looked into in the previous videos, and so it requires a special attention. And before starting out the video, I want you to remember these three main points which is classic for this bishop and knight checkmate. The first one is the enemy king can be checkmated only on the corner square which is as the same color as our bishop. In this position, our bishop is on the dark square, so you can checkmate the enemy king on the dark square corner alone. In this specific position, a1 and the h8 square. These are the two squares where the king can be checkmated. And the second point is how we are going to push the enemy king to the corner. First of all, we divide the board into two triangles. One is this one, and the other one is this triangle. So we are going to divide the board into two triangles, and we are going to push the enemy king into one of those triangles, and then what we are going to do is to decrease the size of the triangle, and then slowly we are going to push the king into the corner. Like for example, let's take this triangle, and what we are going to do is to push the enemy king into this smaller triangle and then into this last triangle. So this is how we are going to push the enemy king. And the third important point is for coordinating the bishop and the knight, we have to place them both in the same color, so that the knight controls the light squares and the bishop will control the dark squares. So that happens when we place the two pieces on the same colors. So that's the 3 points which you have to remember before starting out the video. And then about this video, I actually played this position with a friend, and I I just I'm just going to show you what happened in the game, and also how I checkmated the enemy king. So let's get started. First of all, yeah, and for the checkmate plans, we have to remember another 3 points, which is first we have to bring our minor pieces in the center of the board. So for this position, our two pieces should come in these two squares, so that our knight and bishop will coordinate, and also we will control most of the squares from the center. So that's our first idea, and I'm going to do that now. So I started out with king e2, and I brought my bishop and also my knight. So actually what happened in the game was I brought my knight and bishop towards the center, and my opponent tried to stay in the light square corner. So he is staying away from the dark square corner, so that I cannot checkmate him easily. So he is trying to do that, and what I am going to do is to place my bishop in either of these two diagonals. One is this one or this one. So you will understand the idea behind it by why I am placing the bishop in this diagonals, and we can use our knight to control this light square diagonal, I mean light square. Then we can start to take out the enemy king from that square. So that happened in the game, and I brought my knight to control that square like this, and now this square is controlled, and the enemy king cannot go to that square. So now he has to play this, and I played my king here. These are not so accurate moves, but this is the plan, and if you follow this plan, you can checkmate your opponent in more or less 40-45 moves. And remember, if you go beyond 50 moves, then it's a draw. So you have to checkmate within 50 moves, and if you follow this plan, then you can easily do it. So first of all, I brought my knight to control the light square, and then I played my bishop here, and then I played my knight here. This knight now controls this square, and so the enemy king has to move further to the dark square corner, right? And now I place my bishop here, and this is the second point how we are going to checkmate the enemy king. This second point is all about placing the bishop and the knight on their ideal squares. And the ideal square of a bishop in this kind of positions is, first of all, you note that this king is now cornered in this triangle, right? And for the ideal bishop placement, you have to remember that the bishop should come in this diagonal, and also it should be placed on the square one square from the end. That is, let me highlight you, this square and or this square. So these are the two squares in which your bishop should be placed, and the knight should come one square adjacent, sorry, two squares adjacent to the bishop. For example, if the bishop on c7, then knight should come on c5, and the bishop on g6, then the knight should come on g6, g3, and the knight should come on e3, right? So these are the ideal placements for the bishop and the knight, and why we are doing so is, I will explain you in a bit. Let me get that two pieces into the ideal squares. So I brought my knight over to that square, and now I placed my bishop here, and then I placed my knight here. Okay, I have brought my two pieces on their ideal squares now. And why it is important is because this knight is controlling now these three squares, and this bishop is controlling this whole diagonal. Okay, and if you can see that these two coordinating very well, and it forms a wall so that the enemy king cannot escape. The only escaping square is this one, which is controlled by our king. So the enemy king cannot even escape from this wall which we have formed. And what we are going to do is to decrease this wall. We are going to push the enemy king to the corner by placing ideally our bishops and knight in this way. So let's first of all, the king has to be pushed to the other triangle, smaller triangle, right? So I just played my king and used my bishop to move away the king, and then I brought my king to the game further, and when my opponent tried to escape via this, I actually blocked the square with my bishop, again ideally placing my bishop there so that the king cannot escape. And now I just brought my king, and now you can see that this king is on this triangle right now. So what we have to do is to again place our bishops and knight on the ideal squares, which I have said earlier. The ideal square should be one square from the end of the long diagonal, right? For this triangle, the bishop should come on this square, which is e7, or the g5 square. So these are the two spots where the bishop should come now. So I have to get my bishop to that diagonal first, and my opponent played here, and now you can see that I cannot bring my bishop here right now. So I played a waiting move like this, and then when my opponent went there, I played my bishop here. So now you can see that I have brought my bishop on this diagonal, and now I will place my bishop on the ideal square, right? One square away from the end of the diagonal. That is the ideal square for the bishop, and the knight should come two squares adjacent to it. So this should be the square for the knight, right? And we are going to bring our knight to that square, and how I do that is by placing my knight on c4 and then bringing them here, bringing it here. So now you can see again this knight is covering this important two squares, and the bishop is controlling the remaining squares, these. Okay, so the enemy king is restricted to those 6 squares alone, and now we are going to use our king to push the enemy king into the corner. So I'm playing my king like this, and now you can see that this king has been further cornered to this triangle, the last one, and so we are going to bring our bishop on that diagonal, right? And then I brought my bishop here, still staying in the diagonal, and our knight is controlling these two squares, so the enemy king cannot escape, and the bishop is controlling these squares, right? So yeah, let's see. And my opponent played here, and I played a waiting move with my king so that I can come here. And now you can see that this king has 2 squares alone to go. It went to there, and now the ideal placement for the knight should be on this square, right, adjacent to the bishop. So I brought my knight there by playing my knight to g4, and then I brought my knight here. And you have to remember that on the last, the corner squares, there is a chance of stalemating your opponent, so you have to be careful that your knight comes with a check. If this was not a check and this king was in here, then that would be a stalemate. So you have to be careful about that. And in my game it came with a check. If it's not coming with a check, then you can play waiting moves with the bishop. Okay, and now I played the knight to f6, and after king goes here, I played bishop g7, and it's checkmate. Okay, this is how you do checkmate with a bishop and a knight. I hope you understand this video, and feel free to comment your thoughts about this video, and if you have liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and share this video for your friends too. Thank you.